Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. We have less than a week until Magic Origins pre-release, so we're chugging along with our Best of the Rest series as we look at some of the interesting cards that weren't spoiled individually. In this episode, we'll be focusing on black cards. Hope you enjoy. Consecrated by Blood is 2 colorless and 2 black for an enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying, and you can sacrifice 2 other creatures to regenerate it. Now this is a card that first caught my eye because it's a black enchant creature that gives you flying. That is not normal at all. I'm also used to black enchant creatures giving more power than toughness. There's a lot going on here that isn't normal is what I'm saying. Regardless of that, I am a bit underwhelmed. It does give nice evasion, but it's no spectral flight and that regenerate cost is really expensive. Jury is still out, but clunky is the word that best describes this card. Dark Dabbling is 3 mana for an instant. Regenerate target creature, draw a card. If you have Spell Mastery, also regenerate each other creature you control. Alright, at first I was underwhelmed, but a cantripping anti-board wipe, I'll take it. If you can trigger the Spell Mastery, you could save a ton of creatures from certain death while replacing the card itself in your hand. It doesn't stop Languish, but if you're going wide and limited, having one of these might not be the absolute worst idea. Blight Massacre is 2 colorless and 2 black for a sorcery. Non-elf creatures get -2/2 until end of turn. Super wonderful, because elves needed something else that was crazy. A non-elf infest is hilariously good, especially in the mid-game when both players have a lot on the board. This might actually see sideboard standard play if an elf deck becomes a thing. It answers mono red in any form, and will probably be decent against whatever mono white or mono black aggro decks come out of Magic Origins. Just saying, this card is full of hate, but it's strong hate. Feated Imp is 2 mana for a 1/2 imp with flying. You can also pay 1 black and give it death touch until end of turn. This is a perfect filler card for any limited deck. 2 mana for a 1/2 flyer is normally not good, but a death touch activation makes this relevant all game. A small thing, but it'll also block Thopter tokens for days. Basically, this card doesn't scream amazing, but it'll fill in pretty much everything. One of those last pick cards that always somehow makes it into your deck. Infernal Scarring is 2 mana for an enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0 and has, when this creature dies, draw a card. Now this is an aggressive enchant creature I can get behind. Gives a nice power boost for 2 mana and it replaces itself when the creature dies. And the creature will die. Getting +2 power early game is backbreaking for most limited decks. I love this card. If you're running anything even remotely close to black aggro and Origins Limited, this is a great addition to that deck. McCobb Waltzes is 2 mana for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card. I was not expecting a Waltz reprint, and with the same art, man, that is so creepy. Ugh. As for playability, it isn't the best. You can discard a spell card in addition to this to get Spell Mastery online in one shot, but even then, you'd better be returning 2 bomb creatures to your hand, otherwise probably not worth it. Malachor Callblade is 2 mana for a 1/1 vampire warrior. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on the Callblade. I actually really like this. It's only 2 mana, which I'm not used to for that ability, plus, you know, it's in black where it should be. You're not going to want like 5 of these, but one of them in a removal heavy deck is going to net you some serious value. In no time, this 2 mana creature is going to demand a removal spell of its own, or a much bigger creature to deal with it. The investment is worth it, I think. Rabid Bloodsucker is 5 mana for a 3/2 vampire with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each player loses 2 life. I don't care at all about the life loss. This is perfectly fine for the top end of an aggressive black deck or really just any limited black deck at all. It has 3 power and has flying. That's a threshold in this limited format. A 3/2 with evasion that pings for 2 on entry for 5. Yes please, I'll play it. Read the Bones is back. The black draw spell gets to live in standard for a little while longer as Theros closes in on rotation. This is particularly useful information for variations of half the decks in standard right now that use Read the Bones. The spell is just good, and getting it for another standard cycle is big news for everyone. Black control and aggro decks alike. Who doesn't love some card draw? Revenant is 5 mana for a flying spirit with power and toughness each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Something like this is way too specific to be truly impactful and limited, but an ability like this is perfect for commander play. Gerard, Mimeoplasm, even something like Sidisi is a good place for this. Again, not really all that great in limited, but it's not meant for that format anyways, so Commander for life. Shadows of the Past is 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, scry 1. You can also pay 5 mana to have each opponent lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. Activate this ability only if there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard. Wow, this has a lot going on. It screams Commander to me, but it might actually be decent for limited. I know, weird. It helps that it's only 2 mana, so it comes down early. If you drop this, then drop relevant creatures for the foreseeable future, or just kill their stuff, you can scry like crazy. I'm not saying this is a bomb card or anything, but the trigger is fairly unique on an early drop enchantment like this, and I think it's worth trying out just to see how it is. It also gives you a nice late game mana sake in case everything dies and neither you nor your opponent has anything left to do. Just a thought. Seriously though, obviously, meant for Commander. Touch of Moonglove is 1 mana for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 and Death Touch until end of turn. Whenever a creature dealt damage by that creature dies this turn, its controller loses 2 life. Heck yes! This is the kind of combat trick I really love. Much better than Coat with Venom. Sure, it doesn't help your creature survive, but look at that trigger! 2 life from each creature that dies? Put this on a Pelucranos and go monstrous. Use it with Arcbond to wipe a board. Remember, you're effectively hitting your opponent for 2 life every time a creature of theirs dies to this thing. As long as you don't kill yourself in the process, you can do some hilarious things with this. All that aside, 1 mana to basically kill any creature and shock your opponent, I'll take it for limited easily. Well, there you have it, the rest of the black cards in Magic Origins. What do you think about the color in general? I think there's a lot of decent disruption and removal, as well as some serious control elements. Black seems to be covering a lot more bases than usual. Maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, be sure to look out for the rest of our Best of the Rest series coming to you in the next few days, as well as more Magic Origins lore videos and our pre-release guide. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic Origins spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.